Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, good chatting with you
Sir.
yesterday. Appreciated the time. I wanted to follow up on some of the topics we talked about. One is this issue of the cemetery formulas that go to helping communities establish veteran VA-based cemeteries. As I mentioned to you, with the exception of Metlakatla, which is our only Indian reservation in Alaska, we've actually never been granted that ever, which is kind of shocking given that we have more vets per capita in the state in the country. Undersecretary Quinn, when he testified a couple months ago, was pretty forward-leaning, saying, hey, we'll take a look at that, Senator, because a lot of our formulas have been focused on maintenance of current cemeteries. We haven't done much, although the program allows for money that goes into new cemeteries. As I mentioned, great veteran group in Fairbanks, Alaska has got land, selected land, bought land, and now they're trying to get a grant. And I'd like to just get your commitment. You probably can't say, all right, they're going to get it, but Undersecretary Quinn was pretty forward-leaning on that topic, just to make sure you're not just doing it for maintenance. It can go to new programs like the people in my state who are working hard on this. And like I said, we've never gotten one.
Yeah. Well, so we have this goal to increase the number of cemeteries within 75 miles of veterans and survivors so that survivors can visit their veteran. It's consistent with that goal to make sure that we're leaning in a place like Alaska, which is not only got a lot of vets, but it's got a lot of surface area. So we'll make sure that we're biasing toward that outcome. You know, I want to be careful to not overpromise, but I get it. I understood the arguments made yesterday. I talked to Matt about them.
Oh, good.
And, you know, we'll lose Matt, unfortunately, at the end of this May.
Yeah, he's
this
doing a
month,
good job.
But you've got my commitment to stay on top of it.
Great, thank you. Next one we talked about, look, we're talking a lot about the PACT Act. One of the big flaws was the Camp LeJeune component of that, which did not have trial lawyer contingency fee caps. To his credit, the Attorney General of the United States went and looked at the existing law and came back and said the Federal Tort Claims Act actually covers this. So the announcement made by him, you, Secretary of the Navy, Del Toro, was very helpful. I was disappointed. My team, you know, mentioned to me, I would have mentioned on our call, we had asked a number of questions of the VA on this topic last year. We just got the answers yesterday, and you guys essentially didn't take a position. I hope you can be a little bit more forward-leaning the way the Attorney General was. Here's the issue. Despite you guys, Secretary of the Navy, the AG saying, hey, veterans of America, Camp Lejeune veterans, don't do anything above 20 or 25%. Matter of fact, the Attorney General of the United States said any law firm charging above that is subject to civil and criminal liabilities. But, you know, some people don't follow the law. Saddle Rock Legal Group, the AVA Law Group based in Montana, just recently my team was looking into these guys. They're advertising on TV. They're still charging 60% contingency fees. The American Legion, the VFW made this their #1 issue, to get these law firms to stop ripping off the families of sick Marines. And we solved it. But guess what? These law firms don't give a damn. They don't give a damn what the Attorney General says. We're reporting them to the Attorney General. I hope he smacks them with criminal penalties. 60%. That's like highway robbery against veterans. So, Mr. Secretary, can you commit to me to continue to work with us, but also, importantly, have at the local VA offices on your website, which I think you already do, veterans, you should not sign up for anything more than 25%. It's against the law. And don't get ripped off by these unscrupulous law firms. So can you kind of strongly stand?
Yeah, as I told you, and we discussed when the Attorney General did what he did, that we supported him in that. We think this is the right thing to do to make sure that vets get their
fair share.
Their fair share. Yeah.
Can you commit, though, to keep, you guys have a great network with veterans, VSOs, like I said, American Legion, VFW made this their top priority. Keep trying to get the word out.
We'll keep pushing.
I saw these ads on TV like 3 weeks ago, as I mentioned to you, and it's just like, come on, right? Really? These cockroaches are trying to take money from sick Marines and their families? It's just wrong. It's wrong. Gosh, it's wrong. Let me just make one final quick question. I know on the community care, a lot of discussion on that.
Yep.
Secretary Hassan mentioned Alaska, New Hampshire as not having full-service hospitals. Can I get just, maybe not right now unless you have it, an update? There was expansion plans for VA facilities, not hospitals, but
Yep.
clinics in Fairbanks, in Anchorage, in the Matsu Valley, on the Kenai Peninsula, Homer, Juneau. And what I'm concerned about, Ms. Secretary, is you guys are looking to cut back on staffing. In Alaska, what's worked is actually getting more staffing as we've built up these facilities. Like North Carolina, we're seeing a big increase in our veteran population in our state.
It's good.
So can you make sure, as you're trying to right-size more broadly, that the places where your facilities are increasing, the veteran population is increasing, that you're not cutting there? We want more VA officials, doctors, nurses. We love them in Alaska. And as I mentioned, our referral backlog alone, which is quite big, I mentioned the number 10,000, is important to make sure we continue to have robust staffing as we're growing out the VA, not cuts.
Yeah, so I had a good conversation with our VISN lead. They've really appreciated the engagement with you on that. So just two things. On the infrastructure, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about our infrastructure plan for Alaska.
Good.
We're not backing off that.
Thank you.
We're trying, as I said, we're trying to skate to the puck. As I told Senator Tillis, exercising every authority we have and being really creative about it. The next place to do this is J-Bear.
Great.
And so there's no reason that we should be sending vets downtown and active duty docs downtown to operate on vets down there. We can do that right at J-Bear and save the taxpayer a lot of money. So we're not backing off the infrastructure plan. On the backlog, we've seen substantial improvement since February. In large measure,
Still, it's really big, though, as you have to acknowledge.
no, I'm not saying it's not, but I don't see that number that you talked about. But I'm gonna leave this with you so that we're on the same page.
Okay.
And so I can find out if I'm looking at the wrong thing. In large measure, we've been able to do that by ramping up MSAs. Okay, so those are the schedulers who help make those appointments.
Who need to be based in Alaska.
Exactly. And so that's an example of strategic hiring where we need those kinds of personnel. We're going to make those decisions, right? But again, when you're operating under a cap, you got to balance this somewhere. And we put out the trade-offs in the budget, but we're making good progress here, working together with you guys. We're going to stay on top of it.
Okay.
And again, we're not walking back from our infrastructure investments. We just have to prove to you guys that we're really serious and we've done everything we can. And then we're going to come and say, hey, we need the whatever, the $2 billion per copy for hospitals. That's going to be really expensive. But I don't feel right that we should come to you with an aggressive ask like that until we've done every single creative thing we can.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, before we conclude the first panel, I feel for tradition's sake, I've got to recognize Tillis just for 5 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Sullivan and I served together for 8 years on Senate Armed Services, and he's repeatedly quotes on a per capita basis, Alaska has more veterans. I remind Senator Sullivan that we have more veterans than he has people. And if you were to cut my veterans population in half, we'd still have more veterans.
All right, well, but it's true, Mr. Secretary, we got more veterans per capita. I think Montana's second, but
Yes, we
Alaska's number one.
7,000 veterans a month in North Carolina, August, September, October last year. 7,000 a month, new ones.
Good. Well, we just want to keep the predictability of the committee. So with that, thank you.